rocket itself was exploded because we lost control of it, and then the debris scattered all over South Florida, the Bahamas, and the Caribbean. Now, this explosion was seen from here in Central Florida. This is from Joshua in Brevard County, about 6:41, so about a little over 2 hours ago now. This was from the Bahamas, and you can see all of that debris coming down out of the sky. This was from Jean. Pretty remarkable to see all of that debris coming down. This was from Horizon High School from Melissa, and you can see what kind of looks like a jellyfish going across the sky. And that was the explosion, clearly seen here in Central Florida. Now, at this point, it's probably above that cirrus cloud, which that cirrus cloud is probably like 40,000 feet. So it's really, really high up right there in this video. This video was from Winter Garden from Missy, and you can see this was visible all over Central Florida. You see here at that stoplight, this was about 6:45, what looks like a jellyfish. So the initial explosion resembled that of a jellyfish, and then after maybe about a minute is when the individual pieces starting breaking up, and as they broke up, that's what creates those streaks. Let me go back a few images. This that you see, this is from the Bahamas. This is at near the tail end of this coming through the Earth's atmosphere, where it burns up, because the flashes you're seeing here is that burning up. Because remember, the upper atmosphere is extremely cold, and this debris is falling and getting hot as it's falling rapidly thanks to the acceleration of gravity through Earth's atmosphere, getting back closer to the ground. Not to make this a physics lesson, but I mean, there's a mass amount of physics and calculus involved in this. So you only see these trails and that burning bright flashing when it's closer to the ground. So right after the explosion, it looked like this. Then towards the end of the debris' life, it looked like that, to give you some perspective. So this was from Horizon High School from Melissa. Now this is looking off to the south. You kind of get that jellyfish vibe, and this was from Missy in Winter Garden, all over Central Florida tonight. Very visible, and I've got a ton more video and pictures I'm going to get in for the 10 o'clock news, but this is all I've had time to get into our system for right now. So here's the approximate path of Starship from the star base. Now, a couple of things to point out. Let me get control of this so I can draw on it for you here. So the first thing is that they put Starbase where they did over here for a very good reason. If you're not aware, there was a lot of thoughts when this program started with Elon and with SpaceX about why was it not put on Florida's Space Coast. Well, there's a reason for it, and part of the reason, not to get so into the weeds and into politics or anything like that, but first of all, there's a lot more people here. In this box, there's millions of people. In this box here, there's not millions of people. That's number one. So the risk to humans on the ground from testing these things, if, God forbid, as soon as it went up, it exploded, some of the debris would come back into heavily populated Orlando, West Palm Beach, in Miami. Even if they were launching it this way, that's the part of the reason why this was never put there, is there's not enough room to safely reduce the threat of it coming back down over land in populated areas. So that's why Starbase was never built in Central Florida. There was, from what I've been told, discussion long ago when this project started years ago of looking at Central Florida. But where this is on South Padre Island, I mean, you can YouTube and look up what it looks like. It's a huge facility. I mean, it's out in the open. It's right on the water. And the reason why is because it's next to nothing. It's close to a city, but where it is pretty remote. Starbase was put where it is for a reason, and this is an example. Obviously, we hate to see people get injured or property get damaged. That happened a few weeks ago. People had debris in the yards and stuff. In the Bahamas and Cuba and South Florida and then the Keys, but this is probably one of the better areas if you were going to have this, and the reason why is because over South Padre Island, if it exploded even a minute after that launch, it would be over water. So I'm just giving you some of this context with the flight path as to why it was put where it was, because I've already been asked by several people since this news has broke, why was Starbase never built, you know, by the Kennedy Space Center, or why wasn't it built in Merritt Island or somewhere right here in Central Florida? Too many people, too much of a concern, and too much of a risk, you know, with testing a new technology that, you know, if God forbid it ever exploded right after launch, you'd be talking about serious threat to life and property in Central Florida. So that's the main reason why. But you know, part of the complicating factor is by putting Starbase where you did, if on a night like tonight it launches successfully, because by the time it gets to this line, it's about 80,000 feet up. You know, so that's why you don't ever really see it if it's successful over Florida, because by the time the path gets at our longitude, you know, if you draw a line of longitude from Orlando south, remember longitude's like that, latitude is like this. By the time Starship, the rocket, ever gets to Orlando's longitude, it's too high for you to even see. It's safely above the lower atmosphere. I mean, it's 70, 80, 90,000 feet above Earth's atmosphere. So this exploded, from what we're told, about right here, right where that X is. So right where the line ends is where it exploded. Then from there, the debris fell out and kind of fanned out. Some of it went this way, some of it went this way. But the video I showed you is actually from about right here. So I'll go back and show you. See the circle? That's the video that I have that I got from somebody that we've got approved to be showing you is from right here. And most of the debris continued on this path, just, you know, by the laws of physics. It's going to continue on the path that it was. And obviously in the initial explosion, some degree might get deflected this way. Up here, some might get deflected this way. But the majority continued on the flight path, which was like this. And by the time it got over here, it was at a pretty low altitude. And that's why there was the concerns, especially in South Florida airports, for some of the debris that could have got pushed up this way. But it would have had to have exploded back over here for Orlando to have been at any concern of, you know, debris coming towards Tampa. It exploded too far south and too far away from us to have any real concern there. But this island right here I'm circling, keep that in your head. See that island I circled, and I'm going to come back to that. That's where this video is from. So this video you see to the side of me, that's where that's from. So by the time it reached that island, you know, it had dropped from 80,000 feet down to 20. And remember, you're only seeing the glow because that's the objects burning, literally burning up, coming into Earth's atmosphere. If a meteor, or an asteroid ever, God forbid, hit Earth, when, you know, in modern times, as soon as it started burning up is when you see that trail in the glow. You know, that glowing is telling you that the things are burning up as they're coming down. These videos like this, there's nothing burning up yet. That jellyfish-looking cloud is just the gas and the fuel and all of the things that have been initially exploded. There's no real burning yet. I mean, there is a little bit, which is why you see that glow, but it was not till it got a lot lower that it really started burning up. So thankfully that appears to be done now. There's no more threat to airports. From what I've been told, I will check again. I believe the ground stop has been lifted at all. Let me confirm quick. At all Central Florida airports, or all Florida airports. I will check quick to confirm, but I believe the ground stop has been lifted everywhere. Tampa was never put under a ground stop, neither was Fort Myers. Normal operations are back now at most airports, but there still is several planes that were put into a holding pattern or diverted to, you know, somewhere else that are obviously going to have to come back now. So for a couple hundred people, or maybe, you know, a few thousand people, that they're going to be they're going to come in a little bit late tonight to Orlando, but normal operating is back at MCO. So that's our first big story of the night. The second is this brush fire, which has been ongoing. And this brush fire is continuing, and you can see where the orange, the Orlando, I can't remember who it is. Let me look real quick. I've got so much information I've been looking at. Forgive me. I can't remember which. Let me confirm. I don't want to tell you something that's incorrect, and my phone's not loading. So this fire started mid this afternoon. And let me go back and confirm. So Orlando Fire Department was the first on the scene, and then Orange County Fire Rescue is also assisting and has been since early this afternoon. So you can see where they are here. Now, remember, the color of the smoke in a fire tells you a lot about what is burning. Most of this that has burned has been trees. Now, there is property and hotels right here, and then back behind here. But where this is a somewhat safe area, because it would have to burn a lot more to get closer to us in the camera, you know, closer this way to have been a real threat. Now you can see it from the iDrive camera too, not really as well. But let me zoom out this camera to give you some bearing as to where this is. So let me zoom this all the way back out so you can see. Give it a hot second, the camera will. If you could put links one, oh, there we go, never mind. So here's the Kia Center. Here's Camping World Stadium. Here's I-4, and then the Turnpike goes over that way. So here's Interstate 4, Kia Center, Camping World Stadium. This is looking southwest. You see the Ferris wheel over here. There's a hotel here many people go to for Magic games. You know, there's a rooftop bar and a whole bunch of restaurants on the top of this hotel right here. And if you've ever been at that, you probably know this picture and landscape very well. It's a very photographed spot of rooftop restaurants and bars in downtown Orlando. You can see the giant Ferris wheel right there. You can always see, sometimes you can see on a really clear day, you can see the Disney World looking a little bit off the scope of this camera. But here's the tourist district, and I drive over here, Interstate 4, Kia Center, Camping World Stadium, and then southwest, there's a little patch of land in there, and that's where the fire is. So it's surrounded by a pretty heavily populated area. Zoom in the camera a little bit more, and you can see the wind direction blowing from west to east that is blowing the smoke that way. It appears to be under a lot better control right now. Obviously, there still does appear to be some fire there. If you could put links one behind me, or take the wall real quick, I'll take it full screen and show you. The good news about this fire right now is that there's not nearly as much wind. The temperatures are cooling off. We're in the mid-50s now in Orlando, and the winds have really relaxed. Earlier, the sustained winds were about maybe 15 to 20. Now it's about 5. And look to the west. It's 3 in the Villages, 16 in Cocoa Beach. So that lighter wind is coming in from the west. So even if they don't have complete control over that fire yet, they being Orlando Fire and Orange County Fire Rescue, they're going to probably be able to get control of this pretty quick, because the winds are really starting to relax, which is good news. So 2 big stories tonight. We had a brush fire that got going pretty good in Orlando. Now, I've mentioned this a lot on our broadcast the last few weeks, and I'm going to use this opportunity to bring you aware of this again. We are in drought. We are in moderate drought in Central Florida, and there is severe drought to our west. That's that color there. You see moderate drought there, and the yellow is the first stage of drought. We are in a La Nina winter. This is going to be something that's a concern for us this spring. I think, unfortunately, not to be all doomsday here, this is probably an appetizer and a preview of what we may have to deal with come April, especially because of how dry the ground is. We haven't really had a lot of rain since Milton came through. And in fact, the rain deficit in parts of Central Florida are over half a foot still, despite what we've had. And if you remember in Milton, we had 10, 15, 16 inches of rain along the I-4 corridor. So that brush fire directly caused initially, the root cause is because the ground is so dry. We're in droughts, and the drought has gotten worse. And then today, after that cold front, it was just so dry. Imagine if we had 5 days of this level of wind and dry. We'd have a real situation on our hands in Central Florida and around Orlando. You think this fire looked pretty decent on the cameras before. Imagine 5 days in a row of this wind and this level of dry air. That's the concern going into April before the rainy season starts. So we'll have many more updates on the Starship explosion on the news at 10 tonight. I'm going to try to get a timeline and some better graphics and better visuals of the path. And I'm going to try to map out the debris field all cool in a visual for you, or all clear in a visual, I mean to say. So on the News at 10 tonight, I'll have some additional photos from viewers in Central Florida, some more details and maps about it, and also an update on that fire. Hopefully by the News at 10, it appears to be getting under control now. So a busy news and busy weather night. All airports are back to normal operations in Central Florida, but there's still many people who are going to be late getting in because there was a lot of diversions and holding patterns, even across the U.S. coming to Florida airports. So if you had somebody coming in tonight to our MCO, there's probably going to be delays well into the night because of that ground stop earlier. So thanks for watching here on Fox Local. I'm meteorologist Noah Bergren of Fox 35. We'll see you coming up on the News Edge at 10 and 11. For now, have a good rest of your evening.
He was saying, I've had enough. Like, there's a lot of mistreatment. There's a lot of conversation among these hostages about